पृथुः उवाच च नः वसु पृथुरुवाच वसुधे त्वां वधिष्यामि मच्छासनपरान्मुखीं भागं बर्हिषि यावृङ्क्ते न तनोति च नो वसु पृथुरुवाच वसुधे त्वां वधिष्यामि मच्छासनपरान्मुखीं भागं बर्हिषि यावृङ्क्ते न तनोति च नो वसु पृथुरुवाच वसुधे त्वां वधिष्यामि मच्छासनपरान्मुखीं भागं बर्हिषि यावृङ्क्ते न तनोति च नो वसु त्वां वधिष्यामि भागं बर्हिषि यावृङ्क्ते न तनोति च नो वसु पृथुरुवाच त्वां वधिष्यामि मच्छासनपरान्मुखीं भागं बर्हिषि यावृङ्क्ते न तनोति च नो वसु पृथुरुवाच वधिष्यामि मच्छासनपरान्मुखीं भागं बर्हिषि यावृङ्क्ते न तनोति च नो वसु पृथुरुवाच वसुधे त्वां वधिष्यामि मच्छासनपरान्मुखीं भागं बर्हिषि यावृङ्क्ते तनोति च नो वसु माताजी पृथुरुवाच वसुधे त्वां वधिष्यामि मच्छासनपरान्मुखीं भागं बर्हिषि यावृङ्क्ते न तनोति च नो वसु पृथुरुवाच वसुधे त्वां वधिष्यामि मच्छासनपरान्मुखीं भागं बर्हिषि यावृङ्क्ते न तनोति च नो वसु Prithu uvacha. King Prithu replied, Vasudhe, my dear earthly planet, Tvam, you, Vadhishyami, I shall kill. Mad, my. Shasana, rulings. Parak Mukhem, disobedient to. Bhagam, your share. Barhishi, in the yajna. Ya, who. Vrinkte, accepts. Na, not. Tanoti, does deliver. Cha, and. Nah, to us. Vasu, produce. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. King Prithu replied to the earthly planet, My dear earth, you have disobeyed my orders and rulings. In the form of a demigod, you accepted your share of the yajnas we performed, but in return, you have not produced sufficient food grains. For this reason, I must kill you. Purport. The cow-shaped earthly planet submitted that she not only was a woman, but was innocent and sinless as well. Thus, she argued that she should not be killed. Besides, she pointed out that being perfectly religious-minded, the king could not violate the religious principles that forbade killing a woman. In reply, Maharaj Prithu informed her that first of all she had disobeyed his orders. This was her first sinful activity. Secondly, he accused her of taking her share of the yajnas, sacrifices, but not producing sufficient food grains in return. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So Maharaj Prithu is now about to punish Mother Earth. Having deeply considered the matter of why there was no food available for the hungry people of the earth, he concluded that the fault was with Mother Earth. Mother Earth, having understood that Maharaj Prithu, who is an incarnation of the Lord, was about to reprimand her, she fled in fear. She took the form of a cow, knowing that as a knower of religious principles, Maharaj Prithu would not kill her. Firstly, because she was a woman, and secondly, because she was in the form of a cow. So she felt that because of these two reasons, and also because she felt that she was innocent, she should not be punished. When she realized that no matter how hard and how far she ran, Maharaj Prithu would not excuse her. She would not be able to escape. She finally, in a helpless condition, surrendered and pleaded innocence on the grounds that were just mentioned. However, Maharaj Prithu replies that Mother Earth, you are not as innocent as you claim. First, your fault is that you disobeyed my instructions. And secondly, you accepted your share of the yajnas, of the sacrifices performed by the people on this earth, and you did not return what you were supposed to do after receiving the offerings in the sacrifice. So the first point, generally people don't like the word sin, especially those who may not be familiar with spiritual texts or don't have much faith in it. They don't like words like sin and piety. They would rather like to act in any way that they like, in some whimsical way. But actually, as Srila Prabhupada explains, that in the scriptures, in the Bhagavad Gita and elsewhere in the Vedas, it is mentioned that whimsical activity performed by humans is on the platform of animals. Animals do not have a sense of discrimination of what is right and wrong. Actually, some animals do, and it is surprising. And there are many humans that don't. So those animals or those humans who do not have a sense of discrimination, who do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done, who do not accept voluntarily some restrictions on their own activities, are as good as animals according to the Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, Krishna has emphasizing the need for performing prescribed duties. Niyatam kuru karmatvam karma jnayo hi akarmanaha. So you have to perform your regulated prescribed duties. Prescribed duties are those that are described in the Vedic scriptures. Each of us, according to our social and spiritual conditions in life, have certain prescribed duties to perform. Duties are very important. Today, in the modern world, we see a great revolution, and it's nothing short of a revolution. A revolution wherein people are rising up for their rights. Everyone is saying, it is my right, my individual freedom to do this or to do that. And nothing should come in the way of the exercise of my rights. And that is a great crime. So therefore, people like to act whimsically without any restriction because they place excessive importance on what they feel are their rights. And therefore, nobody can come in the way of that. So this is increasingly becoming a popular philosophy. However, even though rights are very noble and valuable and important for any civilized society, what is lacking in the modern day world is a proportionate cry or a plea or a demand that we should also fulfill our duties. Rights and duties go together. We cannot simply demand that we should have certain rights but we should also be conscious that we have duties to perform. And demanding rights without being conscious of one's duties will lead to a chaotic condition in the society. So a civilized human society will not only grant rights to its citizens, to its praja, but those rights will be restricted by reasonable impositions, and they will also be voluntarily restricted by people who understand their duties. So people will not simply consider rights as something, as the ultimate thing. So when I want to perform certain activities without consideration of what my duty as a human being is, then when everyone starts exercising these rights, then there are clashes, there is all sorts of degradation, and chaotic conditions prevail. But duties imply that we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to the state. We have a responsibility to the humans at large. We have a responsibility to our near and dear ones. We have a responsibility towards ourselves, towards the Lord of the entire creation, towards the Vedic scriptures, towards the demigods. There are so many responsibilities and duties we have to fulfill towards everyone. When we consider only our rights and maybe to some degree our duties, like for example, our duty as good citizens is to obey the traffic laws. So we may do that, but to some degree only. But when it comes to the sphere of human activity within our private lives, people feel that they should not have any restrictions. But a civilized society will always understand that rights have to be tempered by duties and responsibilities. And because of those duties and responsibilities, the exercise of the rights must be curtailed voluntarily, and sometimes not voluntarily. So the whole system of prescribed duties has been given in the Vedas. The rights have also been given. The right to life, for example, it's a fundamental right in all civilized countries in the modern day world. And what is important is that today most governments consider this fundamental right to life to be only the privilege or the prerogative of human beings. But according to the Vedic scriptures, citizens includes not just the human beings, but all living entities who are born in that land, praja. So therefore, when you consider the rights of human beings, you must also consider the rights of animals, the rights of the birds and the fish and so on. So selective usage of demand for rights is not the sign of a civilized society. So there are rights given in the Vedic scriptures for everyone. There is justice also that must be there and that is described in the Vedic scriptures. But then there is also duties. Voluntary acceptance of certain rules and regulations in our life. That is what is called prescribed duty, according to our particular status in life, social and spiritual. So when we perform these particular duties, then gradually we make some advancement. So Arjuna does not want to fight the battle of Kurukshetra because he sees there are so many problems associated with this. He has to kill his relatives and so on, and his worshipable superiors. So he decides that he doesn't want to fight. But then Krishna tells him, no, according to your status in life as a Kshatriya, it is your prescribed duty to fight. So therefore do it. Do not think that you will become afflicted by the reactions of this activity because you are doing your prescribed duty. And furthermore, Then Krishna says, Yagyarthat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhana tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangaha samachara. He says, perform your work for me. Another name for Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna is Yajna. Yajna means sacrifice. Yajno vai Vishnu. So the personification of Yajna is Lord Vishnu. The purpose for performing Yajna or sacrifice is to please Lord Vishnu. So what Lord Krishna is saying here, as Srila Prabhupada explains in the purports, is that one should not try to abstain from work, rather one should perform work, one should perform one's prescribed duties, and what is the highest prescribed duty? Yajnartha karma. That karma or that work which is performed for the sake of, that means artha, yajna or Lord Vishnu. In other words, Krishna conscious work. Work that is done to please Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu. Work that is performed according to their instructions for their satisfaction. This is the highest principle of work. And Srila Prabhupada says one must learn this art of work. So work is an art. It's not that one can work anyhow one likes. There are many people, especially in India, who believe that work is worship. Indeed, work can be worship, provided it is yajnartha, provided it is done for the sake of pleasing Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu. Any work at random is not worship. At the very least, the work must be in accordance with the prescribed duties laid down in the scriptures. So here then, we are talking of three levels of work. One type of work is that which is whimsically done. I do whatever I like, and I don't want anyone to tell me what I should or should not do. This is work on the animalistic platform. The second level of work is work according to the prescribed duties laid down in the scriptures. According to the four varnas, the Brahmanas have some duties, Kshatriyas have duties, Vaishyas, Shudras, they all have duties. According to ashrama, the Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas, they all have duties. Now, in this ordinary Varnashrama dharma, there is emphasis on these prescribed duties, but the idea that we should surrender to Krishna, we should please Him, we should only live for Him and to serve Him and love Him, that idea does not come out so strongly and so easily. It is not easy to understand how the goal of life is to become a pure devotee of Krishna by following the rules of ordinary Varnashrama dharma. Because there are so many other prescribed duties towards so many entities given there. You have to worship your forefathers, you have to worship the demigods, you have to do this ritual to please this demigod, that ritual to please that demigod. So there's so much of all this that the central purpose of pleasing Krishna, although it's there, but it doesn't get that focus. But nevertheless, because one follows that system, gradually there will be elevation in consciousness. Then one can come to the third platform. So the first was whimsical action. The second is action according to prescribed duties, which is called normal karma. And the third is yajnartha karma. That means work performed for the pleasure of the Lord. Now, Srila Prabhupada explains in this series of verses in the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, wherein Krishna is describing karma kanda, that for those who are not in a position to understand Krishna or Vishnu and to worship Him or to do yajnartha karma, for them there is a facility for karma kanda, which means prescribed duties. So for those who can't do level 3 of the work, they have to do at least level 2. So having mentioned what level 3 is, now he is going to speak about level 2, which is Karma Kanda. Now there are 3 sections of the Vedas. One is called the Karma Kanda section, in which there are injunctions given whereby one can legitimately enjoy life in this world, experience sense gratification, but in a regulated way by following certain procedures of worship of various demigods. For example, one wants some wealth or success in one's business, one performs certain kind of worship. One wants a good wife, one wants a good husband, performs a certain type of worship. One wants freedom from disease, one wants sovereignty over the world, one wants to be a king, one wants to be undefeated in life. So there are so many such injunctions given which people may perform. They have these material desires, but at least they are doing it according to certain Vedic rules. And because they have submitted themselves to the authority of the Vedas, which are the word of Krishna, therefore they will gradually be elevated. If not in this life, in the next life. If not in the next, in some life in the future. So in the Karma Kanda section, there are these rules and regulations to worship the various demigods. So this is called yajna. Now when these yajnas or sacrifices are performed for the pleasure of the demigods, because they provide us everything, the prime beneficiary is actually Lord Vishnu or Krishna. But the others, that is the demigods, they also come to receive their share. So in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, after the Yajnartha Karma verse, now Krishna speaks about the Karma Kanda section and how he has introduced the system of yajna or sacrifice into this world. Saha yajna prajaha srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavishyadhyam eshavo svishta kamadhuk. So the Supreme Lord, who is called Prajapati, the Lord of the Praja, the Lord of the citizens, which means the demigods as well as the human beings. That is Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu. So he sent forth the humans and the demigods into the world. And along with them, he gave them a system of yajna or sacrifice. And he told them, by this way, if you follow this, you will become more and more prosperous. Both of you will fulfill your different desires. Eshavos tvishta kamadhuk. Ishtakama means that you will be able to perform these sacrifices and then obtain the material benefits of this. So Srila Prabhupada translates this verse as, in the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods along with sacrifices for Vishnu and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this yajna or sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. So in other words, Lord Krishna sent the humans and the demigods into this world. He also sent along the process of yajna. And he told them, the humans, you perform yajna to please the demigods and everything will work out. Then you will become prosperous, all your desires will be fulfilled. Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantuvaha parasparam bhavayantaha Shreyaha param avapsyatha. Devan bhavayatanena. Anena, by these sacrifices, when you humans please the demigods, te deva bhavayantuvaha. Then these demigods will please you. Parasparam bhavayantaha. In this way, you will both please each other. Shreyaha param avapsyatha. And then gradually you will attain prosperity and happiness. So here is a system where the humans will perform sacrifices to please the demigods. When the demigods are pleased by such sacrifice, they will please the humans. How will they please the humans? Because they will supply all the necessities of life. To live in this world, we need so many things. We need eatables, food. The food grains are provided in nature. For the food grains to grow, we need the soil. We need water, air, light, heat. We need microbes and bacteria in the soil. To survive, we need air, wind, etc. We need so many things for our existence. So even if we make something in the factories, the ingredients or the raw materials for these things ultimately come from nature. So it is the demigods who are actually in charge of different departments of the universal administration. It is their responsibility to see that these things, these necessities of life are provided to the human beings on earth. So when they are pleased by the sacrifices that the human beings perform, they ensure that these provisions are amply supplied to human beings. The demigods subsist on the offerings of sacrifice. That is their pleasure. And the human beings subsist on the gifts of nature supplied by the demigods. In this way, parasparam bhavayantaha Shreyaha param avapsyatha. So by pleasing each other, in today's language it may say, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. The whole society, the whole world functions. It's something like we paying the electricity company some money and they supply us with electricity. So we are happy, the company is happy. We as the consumers are happy because we get electricity. And the company is happy because it gets its money and therefore it makes some profit. So in this way, the consumers and the suppliers are meant to please each other, satisfy each other. But now, if I do not pay the consumer company the bills, the money that's supposed to be paid, what will happen? Will the electricity company continue to supply electricity? They will cut off the supply. So in this way, the demigods will cut off the supply of natural necessities, or they will restrict the supply to the degree that human beings are not recognizing that it is the demigods who are supplying these necessities to them. So when the culture of yajna, of performing sacrifices to please the demigods, is lost, then the demigods are not pleased. And because the demigods are not pleased, they will not supply what humanity needs. Therefore, there will be either scarcity or drought or natural calamities or imbalances in nature. And human beings, therefore, will suffer on this earth. So there is this reciprocal relationship between the human beings and the demigods. And then Krishna says, Ishtan bhogan hi vo deva dasyante yajna bhavitah tay dattan apradayebhyo yo bhunkte stena eva saha. Ishtan bhogan hi vo deva dasyante yajna bhavitah. So being in charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods will supply everything that the human beings need, being satisfied by yajna. And then they will supply all the necessities of life to the humans. But tair dattan apradayebhyo. But having received all these gifts, if one does not offer them in yajna in return to the demigods, bhunkte, if one enjoys such things without offering the yajna, stena eva saha. The word stena means a thief. So one will be called a thief. So I don't think you have it here in Australia, but in India, in some places you will find people illegally tap the grid, the electric grid. They tap the electrical line directly and they connect their equipment to that electricity. So it's not legal. So they don't get billed by the company because the company doesn't know where the current is going, where it's disappeared. So they tap that and they utilize it. So that's stealing, that's thief. You want to take something, but you don't want to pay your bills. So similarly, we take the necessities of nature and then we don't fulfill our requirements by performing sacrifices for the demigods, then we are thieves. So this is a principle of civilized behavior. To understand that the necessities of life are provided by the demigods and we must pay our taxes. We must pay our bills. If we try to enjoy things in nature without paying our bills, without doing yajna, we are like that thief who illegally taps the electric grid line and uses the electricity without paying the bills. So this is a system that is followed. And then Krishna goes on to explain further aspects of this yajna. Yajna shishtashinah santo muchyante sarvakil vishai bhunjate te tvagam papa ye pachanti atmakaranat. That one must only accept remnants of yajna, remnants of sacrifice. Anyone who doesn't do that eats only sin. So one becomes a sinner and one becomes a thief. If one doesn't perform yajna and one doesn't accept remnants of yajna. Because ultimately it is Vishnu or Krishna who is the beneficiary of the yajnas. In the purport to this verse, Srila Prabhupada emphasizes how we must offer all the food we eat first to Krishna and then accept that as prasadam. In this way, there is a very harmonious situation created. Because Krishna is, as he declares in the Bhagavad Gita, the ultimate enjoyer of all sacrifices. Bhoktaram yajnatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. So he is Bhoktaram, he is the enjoyer. Yajna, of all the yajnas we perform, of tapasam, of all the austerities we perform. So therefore, recognizing not just the demigods, but now we go one step further and we say actually it is Krishna who is the master of both the demigods and the humans to whom we must offer sacrifices. And if we offer sacrifices to Krishna, then we do not need to offer sacrifices separately to the demigods. So then one comes from the Karma Kanda section via, one bypasses the Jnana Kanda section which deals essentially with so many philosophical aspects to the Upasana Kanda or the Bhakti Kanda, that section which focuses on the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And then one surrenders to that Supreme Lord and performs sacrifices or work for his pleasure. Now this gradation of activity is necessary to understand. For those who are not inclined towards following any authority, they, by Bhagavad Gita's language, will be called sinful and thieves. It may seem like harsh language, but we can understand the context in which these things are being said. Devarshi bhutapta nrinam pitrinam na kinkaro nayam ranicha rajan sarvatmanaya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam pariritya kartam. So this is a famous verse from the Bhagavatam which explains that there are all these duties and responsibilities in life. Deva, to the demigods, rishis, to the sages, and so on. But when one surrenders to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, Mukunda, then one is no longer obliged to perform ceremonies and yagyas to satisfy all these other categories of entities, like the demigods. Because now one is satisfying or performing actions to please that personality who is the original source of the supply of necessities. He is the one who empowers the demigods to supply these necessities. The demigods are not independent in their power. The demigods are also under the control of Lord Krishna. They derive their position and their power in the system of universal administration only by the grace of Lord Krishna. So inasmuch as the human beings are punished by the laws of nature when they do not acknowledge at least the demigods, if not the Supreme Lord, as the suppliers of their necessities in life, similarly, the demigods also will be punished if they don't fulfill their part of the bargain. And this is where Prithu Maharaj's punishment of Mother Earth comes in. Inasmuch as if I pay my bills to the electricity company, but the electricity company doesn't supply me electricity, so then I can take the company to the court and say, I've paid my bills, but you are not supplying me electricity. You have broken the contract. So it's not that only the consumer it could be at fault, even the supplier could be at fault. So here, because the citizens are performing yajna, and then the Mother Earth, she is not supplying the necessities of life like food, grains, etc. So Prithu Maharaj says, you are not fulfilling your part of the contract. You are a demigoddess, and yajna has been performed. So you have received your share of the sacrifices, but you are not doing your part of the deal. You're getting your taxes, you're getting your fees from the human beings, but you're not giving the human beings what you should be giving them in return for your share of offerings. Generally, in those days, what happened was that when the yajnas were performed, first it was Lord Vishnu who would come and accept the offerings. He was a prime beneficiary. And then after that, all the other demigods would also come and accept their respective shares. So Vishnu was satisfied and the demigods were also satisfied. So it appears from Maharaj Prithu's statement that Mother Earth also did come and receive her share of the sacrificial offerings, but she did not do what she was supposed to do. So this is the second point Prithu Maharaj is making in this verse. The first, that she did not obey his instructions, which she should have done, because he is her master as well. The demigods also are not supreme. The Supreme Lord, Krishna, is ultimately the Lord of the demigods too. And the second thing is that Maharaj Prithu says is that Mother Earth, being a demigod, should have fulfilled her part of the deal and provided the necessities of life to the humans when she did receive the offerings and the sacrifice. So this is Prithu Maharaj's justification for his step to try to punish Mother Earth. Later on, also we will see, as the verses progress, Mother Earth will also give her side of the story after that. So she has pleaded innocence, etc. And then she will justify her action and say why she has hidden all the seeds and the food grains and why she is not supplying them to the human beings on the earth. That will come much later. Hare Krishna. So are there any questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, in the Bhagavad Gita, that chapter 7 verse, Yesham Tvamikadatam Pabam, Jananam Punyakramana, Ve Bandhamoha Nirmukta, Bhajante Mam Punyakata, that people who have performed pious activities in their previous life and their sinful actions have completely eradicated in this life, they are free from delusion and they engage in my devotion service with determination. If we look at this verse from this perspective of rights and responsibilities, acting invincibly or acting according to the higher order, according to the scriptural injunctions. So we understand that by performing regulated activity, one is better positioned for devotional service, and when one acts whimsically without following scriptures, then one creates distance between devotional service and herself or himself. So I'm trying to always understand this point. How can material activity or not performing properly material activity lead to devotional service?
How can performing material activity lead to devotional service? It can't. Only devotional activity can lead to devotion. So in this verse that you just cited, the punya karmanam, the pious activity that is mentioned, is devotional piety. The accumulation of devotional credits, of knowingly or even unknowingly performed devotional acts. Maybe not with a serious intention to perform devotional service. Even a casual performance or even unknowingly performed act of devotional service. So there is an accumulation of that. And it must be sufficiently accumulated to bring the devotee to the point of rendering devotional service dridhavrata, with firm determination. Now, also, the sinful activity must have been sufficiently eradicated. The question is that, is therefore material activity in any way responsible for producing devotion? No. However, the word used here, dridhavrata, indicates that when there is a backlog of a lot of sinful activities that have been done, it is hard for the person to practice devotional service with determination. It doesn't say you can't come to devotional service. You can come to devotional service. But if you have this backlog of sinful activity, very hard. That's why the 4 regulative principles and all that are there. Because there may be some people, and mostly it happens like that. People have got some devotional credits, but they've also done a lot of sinful activity. So because they've done those devotional activities, they come to devotional service, but also because they've done their sinful activity, this sinful activity acts as impediments in the growth of their devotional service. It acts as an impediment in the steady discharge of devotional service. That is dridhavrata. Of course, once one starts sincerely doing devotional service, then the sinful activities are all eradicated very quickly. But here Krishna is referring this verse to the point of coming to the stage of performing devotional service with determination. Okay? Any other questions? Yes.
Hare Krishna. My question is a little bit deviating from today's class. Prithu Maharaj or Nanda Maharaj, they're very high in their devotional service. They're able to ask questions about demigod also what they're doing. For them, they are offended by demigods like Indra sent Samarthaka clouds when he offended, and Prithu Maharaj also, Mother Earth also stopped producing rain. In that level, even though they manage those levels, they are able to question those people. In coming to our level, we are not that much in devotional service, and sometimes we directly approaching Krishna. So if the demigods offended with us, what
So your question is, if the demigods are offended with us, if we have offended the demigods in some way, what should we do? First of all, why should we offend the demigods? What is it that we do that will offend the demigods? If we have sincerely taken shelter of Krishna, then actually the demigods, being devotees, are also pleased. Somehow or the other, for some reason, if they are still not pleased with us, Srila Prabhupada explains, Krishna will protect. As he did in the case of the Govardhan Leela, from the wrath of, he protected the Brajabasis from the wrath of Indra. Indra tried his level best to destroy the Brajabasis, but Krishna protected. So the principle is that once we take shelter of Krishna, one need not worry about performing sacrifices to independently please the demigods. At the same time, because the demigods are devotees of the Lord also, and because they are empowered representatives of the Supreme Lord Krishna, we should also offer them the due respect, and we should not offend them. So it doesn't mean that because we don't worship them as independent lords, we should not offer them respect. We can offer our respect to them as devotees and even as demigods, but our worship is reserved for Krishna. And our understanding of the Supreme Lord is only for Krishna, not for the demigods. Any other questions? Yes.
On this point of karma kanda, by performing it just because they're connected to the Vedas, they get gradual elevation and eventually come to devotional service. So I was just thinking, if someone just chants the holy name, I've heard that it's just a matter of time that they will become a devotee just by the chanting. So I just want to know maybe the difference of potency between performing the karma kanda and chanting the holy name unknowingly of the potency.
Okay, so the question is that there are two ways one could come to devotional service. One is by performing karma kanda, and then over a period of time one gets to understand that because one is following the authority of the Vedas, one may gradually come to realize the supremacy of Krishna and surrender. Or one may just hear the holy name and then take to devotional service. Naturally, the second is always the easier way and the recommended way, especially in this age. The first process of doing karma kanda and then coming to the point of devotional service will take many lifetimes, generally, unless one has the background of devotional piety. Otherwise, it can take many, many lifetimes also. But devotional service can be also taken directly. It's like taking the stairs to go up to the top floor of a building or taking the elevator. So when you take to Bhakti Yoga, you just go into the elevator. So therefore we go out chanting the holy names, distributing the books, etc., speaking to people about Krishna consciousness. We don't know who is at what stage in spiritual evolution. So for some people, it may just be the trigger that is needed for them to come to devotional service. They're just waiting for this spark. And for some people, it may be the devotional piety that they need. And perhaps they're not yet ready in this life. But because they've heard the holy name, so that devotional piety will get accumulated, then they will get the opportunity to hear again, perhaps in this life, maybe in the next life. And then one day they will come to Krishna consciousness too. So definitely the second process is much easier and is especially recommended in Kali Yuga. Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. Why the civilization cannot be happy without God?
Why?
Why the civilization, the society cannot be happy without God?
Why can civilization not be happy
Without God.
without God? Why can a fish not be happy outside the water? It's like that. Because it is the nature, the natural environment of the fish to be in the water. No matter what else you do by taking the fish out of the water, it will not be happy. Similarly, you keep the living entity away from Krishna, it will never be happy because the constitutional position or the nature of the soul is to be an eternal servant of Krishna and to serve him. So the jiva, the soul, doesn't do that, then there can never be any happiness. So a civilization that is bereft of Krishna consciousness can never be truly happy. Inasmuch as a community of fish that are taken out of the water and placed in a Mercedes car and given all sorts of nice foods from all over the place and nice clothing cannot be happy. Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. In Krishna book, the first chapter, Advent of Krishna, we see Mother Bhumi takes the form of a cow and she goes to plead and she approaches Brahma. So there she's being very humble and surrendering. But here she knows that the king is not any other normal king. So and she has taken the form of a cow. So why is she running away rather than, I know she surrenders later, but why doesn't it happen again?
Why does Mother Earth run away in fear of Maharaj Prithu? Because she understands that Maharaj Prithu is coming in an angry mood to chastise her, to punish her, and even to kill her. So out of fear for her own life, she runs away. Of course, she has her own reasons for why she has done what she has done in the past. And as I said, we will see that in the verses to come. But finally, she surrenders to Maharaj Prithu. She puts forward her argument of being innocent, being a cow, being a woman, and therefore she should not be punished. But as we see it, Maharaj Prithu is not convinced. And he has his own reasons. So whoever it may be, we may be even an exalted demigod. If we infringe on the laws of God, we are answerable. So that is a lesson to learn from this. Everyone is answerable. In every country, civilized country in the modern day, there is a kind of a saying that everyone, be they as high and mighty as anyone, is all answerable to the law. Yes? It may be the Prime Minister, the President, or an ordinary citizen. But if they violate the law, then they should be punished. So similarly, whether we are human beings or whether we are demigods, whether we are Brahma at that level even, if there is some mistake, then yes, we are answerable to the Supreme Lord Krishna. And Krishna has the right then to pull us up and if necessary, even punish us. So that is a lesson we learn here. Mother Earth is a very exalted personality. She is a demigoddess in charge of the earth. But she is not independent. So here Lord Maharaj Prithu, as the incarnation of the Lord, is telling her, you have not done your duty. You have taken the share of sacrifice, but you have not given what you're supposed to give for the human population. Yes, ma'am.
Mother Earth is also saying that I am a stable boat and you cannot exist without me. So what is your answer?
Yes, that is a fact that Mother Earth is trying to convince Prithu Maharaj by saying that I am a boat, and if you're traveling in a boat, you don't want to harm the boat, right? The logic that Mother Earth is giving is quite fine. Suppose we are all traveling in a boat and we all start harming the boat. What happens? We all fall into the water, we all sink. So it is in our interest to not harm the boat. So Mother Earth is saying, I'm like a boat. And if you kill me or harm me, then the entire Earth planet will fall into the Garbhodaka ocean. But Prithu Maharaj's response is that, yes, no problem. By my mystic power, I will hold up everything. And I think that will come probably somewhere here if it hasn't come already. And he will say, because he is an incarnation of the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada explains that by his mystic power, Prithu Maharaj was quite capable of holding up the earth, even if the predominating deity of the earth did not do her job. Then the Lord will do the job. Just like if the minister of the king doesn't do his job, then the king can pull up the minister and he will ensure that somebody else does that job, or he himself will do the job, because that is the king's duty. So if a certain presiding deity doesn't perform the prescribed function, then the Lord can intervene. That is why sometimes the Lord also becomes Brahma. Brahma is generally a jiva, a spirit, ordinary living entity, but by performance of extraordinary piety attains to that position as Brahma. But sometimes when a suitable pious entity is not available, the Lord has to become Brahma. He occupies that post. Okay?
By mystic power, can demigod make a port to keep the earth floating in the Garden Ocean?
Well, you see, the demigods have the power to keep, their planets going in different orbits. But ultimately that power is coming from Sankarsana or Krishna. So, because Sankarsana is the one who is ultimately keeping everything afloat, you see. So therefore, as Prithu Maharaj is an incarnation of the Lord, says, yes, don't worry. It is from me that your power is coming. If you don't perform this function, by my power, I will hold up the earth planet. Dharayami aham ojasa. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that I hold up all the planets by my ojas shakti. And Prabhupada says this is called gravity by modern day scientists, but it is the power of Lord Sankarsana. Okay? Yes.
Maharaj, just coming to that point of devotional piety and Tridurga, you mentioned that sometimes old sinful activities can become an obstacle. Already it's hard to try to practice devotional service. Why do they become obstacle? Because somebody is trying to do something good.
The question is that it was said that our past sinful activities can become obstacles in our devotional service. So why is that so when it is already hard enough to practice devotional service? The answer is, why is it hard to practice devotional service in the first place? Why is it hard enough to practice devotional service? Because of our past sinful activities. If someone is born a pure devotee or a near pure devotee, that person will not find it so hard. For that person, it will be a natural thing. But who finds it hard? Who has a backlog of so much of sinful activity? That will become an obstacle. So we're finding it hard to do devotional service implies that there is already a large stock there. But still, because that devotional credits are there, that devotional piety is there, we are able to move on. And now we have actively started performing devotional service. So then we continue on.
What we Vyavasayatmika buddhi.
Yes, Vyavasayatmika buddhi, yes. The one-pointed attention to fulfilling the instructions of the spiritual master and Krishna. Yes.
How can Prithu Maharaj kill Earth because he was inside Earth and ruling Earth? How can he kill Earth because it's like a planet?
Okay, the question is, how can Prithu Maharaj kill the earth when he's on the earth himself? We are doing that now, no? We are destroying the earth, right? So many atom bombs were exploding inside the earth. We are digging and drilling for oil and minerals and metals, and we are destroying the forests. We are doing so much damage to the earth. We're destroying the earth. Even now we are doing. We don't have to be as strong as Prithu Maharaj. But we are doing it in the wrong way. We are destroying in the wrong way. What Prithu Maharaj wants to do is not destroy the earth planet. But he wants to punish the demigoddess who is in charge of the earth planet. She is Mother Earth, not the planet itself. Okay? Yes.
Maharaj, we see that often devotees are born in a devotee family, but they still struggle and they still are ready. How come, why does that happen? Even though they are born in a very nice and like a very good devotee family.
Okay, why does it happen that even though some people are born in devotee families, but still they have to struggle? Number one, because it's the way of this world. Everyone has to struggle from top to bottom. There is no one in this material world who has immunity from struggle. Everyone for survival has to struggle. What to speak of for doing devotional service. And secondly, even though one is born in a devotee family, but one is still not perfect. One has a long way to go. And therefore it is these remaining imperfections that will create the obstacles. But because one is in active devotional service, the sincere devotee will be able to go beyond these impediments. Okay? Alright, so it's 9 o'clock, time for prasadam. So thank you very much. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Maharaj ki jai.